Hi, I'm Kudo Mal, Branch Chief of Kudo Wales in the UK. I'm on a mission to raise awareness for Kudo and the benefits of being a martial artist. Kudo is a full contact mixed martial art and combat sport developed by Grandmaster Azuma Takashi. In my opinion, Kudo is the perfect way for martial arts to pressure test the efficiency and their technique as well as their fighting ability, as it's the closest thing you're going to get to a real fight. Today on Fighting Talk, I interview a good friend of mine, Marc Edwards. Marc is a martial artist, a fitness expert, and a stuntman. Take a look at this. Marc Van Dam Edwards in the house. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I thought he was going to kick me out then, but we're good.
You can do some absolutely fantastic, aerial stuff. What's the most impressive thing you can do cold?
Probably any one of those kicks. Any one of those kicks that I threw a video at you. The jump spin.
You can do them cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to give up training now.
No, but it's. I mean, I can get it cold, but then it looks a little bit better if it's aesthetics you're looking for. It looks a bit better after 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, because you threw a question out about training, misguided training in terms of how muscles react and load and unload. Yeah. And I think when you know that, that's kind of like the holy grail to touch wood, not getting injured when doing something like that. Yeah. And staying supple but strong, I think.
Oh, we'll get into that now. So how do you describe, when people say to you about, what belt are you, what style do you do, and they go all that way? How do you describe the martial art journey to this point?
I say it's just been pretty varied. And when somebody comes in for me to teach them, I say it's kickboxing, right? Because that's one of the most relaxed stand-up arts or sports of an art that I find is applicable to most people with dodgy mechanics or whatsoever. It's less rigid than some, but we teach elbows and we teach takedowns. So so I started in judo as a kid, as a 5-year-old back in Barry. So it's applying that stuff at a certain level when they need it, and if they need it, rather, make it part of a syllabus. But I would say it's varied. So those are my 2 main ones. Judo, since I was about 5 when I got thrown into that by my dad.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, that's how I started.
Yeah. And then kickboxing when I was about 15, I think. And then through my late teens and 20s, I wanted to just dabble, I think would be the right word. I wanted to play with different stuff and see how it would develop me as an individual, rather than what I'm gonna. I wasn't chasing belts and everything. I just wanted to see what differs. Kickboxing is a broad term. What differs Muay Thai to, American kickboxing, so to speak. So it was learning the variables and then stitching it together for whoever needed whatever outcome, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a good lead in, really, because obviously I'm pushing Kudo at the minute because Kudo's as a martial art, got a broad term, like you say, with kickboxing. So, when I'm teaching Kudo, I don't have people say, is that judo, is that like jiu-jitsu? It's just all part of the same class. It's a mixed martial art, right?
That's what it is.
And I suppose that's the term. So, because you're in the fitness industry, right? And, as a martial artist, I've always felt that that's always given me an edge when it comes to sort of fitness training, or whether it be the psychology behind it or whatever. So, what gives you the edge, as in being a martial artist and in the fitness industry?
So if you look at head and body, right, I think from a head standpoint, from a psychological rather than physiological, discipline would be the first one. Yeah, I mean, if you're splitting the head and the mind and I've said this to anybody that thinks about learning martial arts, and I'm like, look, it was one of the best things I got thrown into as a kid because of the discipline. I mean, I didn't want necessarily to get up on a Saturday morning and go over to the YMCA to do judo, but I had no choice. I had to go and do it. Adding that discipline and philosophy to work, whatever you do, it helped me to no end through teens and through 20s and all that sort of stuff, and work and getting shitty bosses and having to deal with the crap that they were throwing until you'd had enough. And then, you know, so it's a bit of resilience. And I attribute a lot of that from, you know, getting thrown down 100 times and getting back up and doing it again and taking knocks again and again and again. So it all helped from a psychological standpoint, but physiological, everything is done in no one direction. Like there's no fixed planes when it comes to throwing a simple jab punch, right? Everything spins the bones and whatever. So in terms of mobility for every joint that I have, I think martial arts, especially those two from kickboxing and judo, being ground and standing, it's meant that I've managed to maintain a level of flexibility and mobility whilst improving strength through lifting weights and stuff.
But I a few years back, it's probably like 20 years ago, I trained to be like a gym instructor, not because I had any interest in actually working in a gym. It was like, when I was doing stretching, like ballistic stretching, my body just didn't seem to want to do it, even though I was doing everything the same as everybody else. And I just thought, well, actually, I need to understand a little bit more about, you know, how the body works. And, you know, you offer training in those areas as well, don't you? So, you know, what do you think that's important for martial artists to do, to actually take that course? And, you know, what do you think that most martial artists do wrong? I mean, you touch base with a broad range of martial artists, don't you? So what are the fundamental things they do wrong? What could they benefit from?
Without generalizing, you're gonna have to generalize this really, but across a whole, like you mentioned, ballistic stretching, right? And we know that gets results as we were kind of forced into those positions as a kid in martial arts. What we know about ballistic stretching now in the fitness industry, we would never teach it. It's like ridiculously dangerous. Because take that as an example versus dynamic. Like a dynamic stretch where you're throwing your limbs into kind of an end range. The sensors, let's take the pec, the sensors here and here, the origin and the insertion, they decelerate at that point because they think you're going to snap your shoulder. Like what happens then when you keep it at that end range and then start bouncing, which is ballistic, you're giving the sensors a wrong signal to know what to protect and what is your end range. So I think, and this will vary from course to course and tutor to tutor, whether they know and understand this stuff, or they're just teaching the curriculum. I get that, and that's kind of whoever you buy the course with and through. But if they understand it properly, and stretching is one of the best crossovers, I guess, from fitness and martial arts, is that people can't get wrong. You know, we hold the stretch for 30 seconds. That means we're going to get, more supple at the joints. Not necessarily, because that might be 45 seconds for one person, but only 18 for somebody else. So there's a window, and it depends from person to person how long you should hold the stretch for. Should you add strength into that for that individual? Do you know what I mean? So if you're doing what everybody else was doing, they might not be doing the right thing anyway. Does that make sense?
The mechanics as well, you know, it's like when you do like things like the skeletal stretch, you know, I didn't know much about like the pivot, for instance, for the neck, and as soon as I understood kind of the range of motion for the neck, you kind of make it's obviously it should be quite straightforward, right? And you know, you think, well, obviously it only goes that way, but it does when you actually can picture it in your mind. You do know how to change chokes or neck cranks, and you know, like whether it be a hinge joint or something like that, you know exactly where the origin, like, you know. So you see that as well when you're teaching. Do you actually start going, right, this is how the skeleton works, and this is how you can break stuff?
I think Bruce Lee quoted it, to quote one of his phrases, the best: dislocation by elongation. I'm like, damn, like if you know the joints that the muscle crosses and where the muscle starts, where it finishes, and you just give a little nudge there, then But look, I experienced that firsthand back in Barry at the dojo. I must have been 16 maybe. Skinny little 16-year-old, and some 30-odd-year-old guy comes back from being away and snaps my arm in just some simple training. I was like, damn. So it just snapped. Which prompted me to do a lot of weight training to never let that happen again. And then like 4 years later, I learned about, as you said, the skeletal system and the musculoskeletal system, and and it gives me an understanding of, oh man, if in that position I had just turned a little bit more, it would have flexed the elbow and it would have been safe. Know that at the time, and you don't know that, and you know.
I think that's how we find out. You know, like you learn by mistake quite often in martial arts, and or when something happens to you. And so, like I'm all really about prevention now, because obviously, you know, when you're starting to age and, you know, you pick up all of these no longer injuries, disabilities and stuff, you know, you can't afford to be learning that way anymore, you know?
Yeah, you're not wrong, mate.
Yeah, so, so, you know, one of the things that, like, I know, I was telling the guys that I was going to be interviewing you, and, you know, one of the things that like I'm starting to get used to is the social media platforms and, you know, trying how to push things out there and stuff. You know, you've been doing stunt work for how long now?
2012.
So 8 years. And see, I mean, that is, like, don't care who you are, right? If you, whatever martial arts, that's kind of something you want to do. You want to get your face on like a Rocky film or on a martial art film or something like that. But do you get hit? Because I've seen some of the stuff, right? And I know camera angles now. Have you got to take a few hits when you're doing that as a stuntman?
Yeah, you do, if you want to sell it right. Like, because you know that I work with Scott.
Yeah.
And the when we did Eliminators, that's a cable car fight.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it, but check.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, yes. Yeah, he looks like he lands on you.
Booted so hard. Eh?
He looks like he literally the one he does like a teep, you know, it's like front kick. And that looked like he launched you with that one.
Yeah, it did. It hit the doors of the cable car, and the cable car doors went, whoa. Like, good job, they didn't freaking open fully. But yeah, man, you especially in a closed environment like that, you don't have any choice really, because they can't.
Well, you were literally up in the air in a
yeah. I mean, we did a bunch of rehearsals and stuff on the ground, but yeah, there was stuff happening up there. Yeah,
I hate heights. I couldn't even get up a ladder the other day, so about getting scrapping in a cable car.
Yeah, it's good fun.
So you know, you mentioned Scott Adkins then, but you know, he looks like he takes it very, very seriously. You know, everything down to the camera angles, the people involved, and if you're getting hit as well in close quarters, stuff like that, would you just kind of ride it out until the end, and then he goes, oh, sorry, Mark, for clocking you in the jaw. Then I got a bit over the top. You know, is that
pretty much?
Like, yeah. Is he kind of down to earth, or?
Yeah, I mean that's it. If the camera's rolling, you don't stop until you're done, and then it's like let's quickly reassess. Did I catch you? Did I sell it too short? And they watch it back. It's like no, it worked or it didn't work, and then we go again. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, he's a professional, man, and he does take it seriously. Of course, that's his craft and that's his livelihood. But the camera cuts, and he's a good guy. Like, he's really nice. And he's very giving on screen as well.
Yeah.
By that I mean, if you're new and come on, the first one I did with him was Green Street 3. Yeah. And it's nerve-wracking, like, because watching Boyka and I wanted of course you want to work with him, and you're like, but he was really welcoming, and you know, he's a professional, so as long as you land your mark, it's cool. And I've choreography a couple of times on Eliminators, but you know, it's still like, just reset, let's go again, we'll get it. So, but yeah,
he's patient.
Very patient. Yeah.
The kicks that you're doing, I mean, they take time to practice, you know, and you know, a lot of people aspire to him, you know, for that's kind of skill level, really. And you know, in Green Street, you get to throw a tasty kick on him, though, don't you?
I do. I get a nice jump roundhouse on him towards the end.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. You gotta admit, it's like,
I always look back at that and I think, man, my base leg, it tucked up a bit too high, which sent me into a bit too much of a spin. So
no, it was good. The good thing about that, I didn't even know you were in that. Yeah. And I was like, that's Marc Edwards. It's like, I'm sure that's Marc. It was wicked. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Good fun.
But so I was looking for you. Is that something that is like a sideline for you, or is that something you're trying to grow? Or
it's not. Sideline is the wrong word. If opportunities come up, I cancel what I was doing to go and do that for sure. But I've spent the past 20 years building up a career in a different industry.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy that, and I can't wait to do the next thing. It's funny, my missus and I did something during lockdown because we live together. So, when these jobs come up, I'm like, yeah, let's do it straight away because it's a passion thing and I really enjoy it. But building up a career in the fitness and, bridging the fitness and martial arts is kind of my aim, I guess.
So how do you get into being a stuntman anyway? It's like, is that,
By chance, and I saw an audition come up, and it was because Miranda's an actor. Some of the premieres that we went to in London with her for her projects, there's a bit of a crossover, and then we started meeting a few people that crossed over into this world, like meeting Scott and meeting Joey Anser and Christian Howard, and they did those two were responsible for the Street Fighter reboot a few years ago, which was really cool. So meeting those, and then I saw an audition come up from one of them, and I just applied and went down to the audition for Green Street, and and then got stuck into it.
And you just said, "Oh, I'm a Barry boy," and then they just signed you up. It's like
pretty much. But this is the thing. Like you talk about wanting to do it and wanting to get into it. For me, back in Barry, I didn't have any opportunities or any direction to go down that road. So it wasn't until I was really late getting into it, being in my 30s. So it wasn't until I got up here and started working in London and meeting people from that world, I was like, actually, this could be possible.
Yeah.
And there we go. That's kind of it, really. But I didn't see any opportunities back home to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's very difficult, isn't it? I mean, we're a small population, and each town's got its own mentality and its own challenges. So it's it is. Yeah. It's always one of those things. It's like I was going to say. I describe Mark. If I say, "Oh well, Mark's done really well for himself with martial artist," or do I say fitness, or do I say stuntman? And actually, all of these things are you, aren't they? So it's you work hard for those things.
I mean, I have, and I still do. Thanks, but it's a really tricky thing to ask when you're out somewhere and someone says, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't really know where to start. Where are we now?" Because if it's a place full of fill in the blank, anybody. Sometimes I say I'm a fitness instructor, or I'm a personal trainer, and then other times I say, look, I work in education. And it actually depends on whether I want a conversation or not, really.
Yeah. Because everybody that comes to my club, we've got different reasons for coming. So there's some that obviously just coming for fitness. You've got and they like doing all of the martial arts. So they like to kind of roll in, they like to throw in, they like striking, the partner work, everything. But one of the things that where as a coach or as an instructor, you have to look for outside support in specialist areas, So like in your business that you've developed, what would you say, for anybody that looking at it saying, what does actually Mark do in his business? What are the elements of your business that you can offer?
Tailored education. Right. And that's what it comes down to. Tailored education. If I'm training somebody to become a trainer, if I'm training somebody from the club, it would be about functional training, which is the same thing, only different tiers.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, what is your function? What are you trying to get fit for? What are you trying to get strong for? And if it's specific, it's like, I watch you kick, or I watch you roll and watch you lift. I look for imbalances, left side, right side, forward, backwards. And then it's about looking at it, building a plan to get you more functional and more strong for what you're trying to perform and your outcome, or flexible, or fill in the blank. Okay. And it's the same for the education arm of what I do. It's like, you want to become a personal trainer, there's a basic syllabus that everybody in the whole country, no matter what company it is, they follow to get the certificate from the governing body. But if I'm lucky enough to have you in the room and teach you or a group or whatever, it's like there's 7 different bodies in here that you all need something slightly different from, because when you go and teach it, you're all going to teach a different way. Yeah. And that's where I get my buzz from for it, is that it helping you improve you for whatever reason you're trying to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. One thing I was going to say, I mean, it's a bit of a testimonial really for you, Mark, because when you become when I say the big I am, right? So you take your gradings and then you're going up the dans and stuff. And recently I received quite a high grade. And then, with every grade, it almost gives you the little bit more responsibility that you kind of can't really ask for help anymore, because I've been put in this kind of pedestal because of the grade and stuff. And I'm, you're one of the people that I know for myself that I would be able to go to get advice on my technique, and everything that I'm doing, and actually listen to what you've got to say, because you're an approachable guy. And I would say that is very hard within the fitness industry, because when I've tried it in the past, within 10 minutes, the guy's annoyed me, because he's not talking about function. He's talking about just mechanical movement, and I'm like, well, actually what I really want to do is hit this as hard as possible, but it's going to be a moving target. So I've got to adjust for that, and you need someone that's got a martial art understanding and background, don't you? Yeah. In the fitness to teach martial artists, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree, because again, nothing is linear, nothing is straightforward. No. And then especially on a moving target, which unfortunately people do move when you're trying to hit them. Yeah. So it's not just the strike, the punching that you need to do. If I'm coming at a jab forwards or anterior, because I use different terminology when I do it. It's an anterior punch and they jump off to their right. And then I have to redirect it to a lateral position over there. Yeah. My right foot has to do a lot more movement to turn my body in that direction.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if all you do is leg extension and leg press and straight up and down squats, and you've never taught your ankle to teach your knee, to teach your hips to go that way, then you're going to blow something out or miss the target.
Exactly.
So it's, you're absolutely right.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, I've had some very good advice, but not very applicable for me as a martial artist. So I have not been able to circumvent the injuries, because I've almost got like this gym instruction and then you've got martial arts here. Yeah. And having both of them together is very, very important, isn't it?
So this must have been 2011 maybe. I just moved to this town that I live in now, and there's a martial arts, it's not there anymore, but there was a fight center about half an hour south. So I went down there to do a kickboxing class once, just anonymously. Miranda and I went down. Just nobody knew who I was, which was great in terms of skill. So, and this is what prompted me to get on my soapbox a bit with the organization that I've been with since the mid '90s. This instructor, which I didn't realize at the time, was part of that organization. And there was no welcome to, there was no handshake. Have you done anything before? What's your medical history? Are you injured? Yeah. And I was a little bit broader at the time. I think he just saw a meathead and small blonde, and here we go. I know. And we went in and we wanted to train, and he did. The first thing he did was like 200 squats, followed by static stretching, followed by power kicks. And
we would like to fall off.
Right. And mind you, they weren't necessarily good squats, but nonetheless. But it was the static stretching that got me, is because everything that we know, you need to mobilize and dynamically stretch the muscles first. But this static stretching of holding essentially a box split for, I think it was about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. And then we get up and we go for power roundhouse kicks, like off the cuff. And a guy was training with his son there, and he tore his hamstring, this hamstring or adductor, I wasn't entirely sure. But the instructor just kind of went, whoa, carried on. And left this guy just to kind of ice himself. And I was like, well, that's bad practice anyway. Yeah. Doing the wrong stuff at the wrong, the wrong stuff at the wrong time for what he had planned for the session, if he had even planned a session. Yeah. And he injured somebody. And then I saw his license at the end of the session, and I was like, no, he's the same association, same organization that we were at. So I got on a bit of a mission then to try and establish this is a baseline for what all of the instructors should understand in this organization, from just a basic introduction to a warm-up protocol to a cool-down protocol, based on everything that we know to be correct at the time that we write this stuff in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
So they let me write a course for them, and that's what we've been rolling out since. And what I've done now is added a whole bunch of this movement mechanics stuff to it, talking about direction of movement and application of power in case you're following up or you're redirecting your energy this way, then that way, and what muscles you need to look out for to get stronger. So yeah, it's just, all I'm trying to do is bridge the gap and give martial artists that were possibly taught. And again, I'm generalizing, so not to.
Yeah, I mean, but it's right, isn't it? I mean, I don't see it. I've seen different things in different countries since I've been involved in, like, on the international scene. But you tend to learn from your instructors who teach the way that you were taught, right? And some of that's not bad, if I'm honest. I'm not totally against that, because you actually get a little bit of the heritage and how things were, how people's mindsets were over those periods of time. But I think, with the mixed martial art boom, it's great because it's actually allowed a lot of people who do understand mechanics to share knowledge, and for outside trainers to come in like yourself, to be able to formalize the training. And I got to say it, and it's a bit controversial, but some of the actual go-to qualifications that allow you to get insurance and something like that, they're not actually give you enough of a basis or foundation to be actually teach safely. It's just keeping people off your back. It's like litigation, that type of thing. It's kind of covering that. So just to kind of cap that question, really, I would say if you want to know how to teach and have continued support, and Marc's your man, so just go for it. Get in contact with them. Details here anyway. So right, Marc, I'm gonna ask you some random questions, right?
Fire away.
Okay. Favorite place in the world that you've been?
Italy.
Nice. Where in Italy?
So I got thrown into Italy a couple of years ago at a place called Bologna.
I've been there.
Yeah. And that was a base for a seminar I was teaching at, and we've been back with the kids. So first time we went, we had Dylan, who was just a couple of weeks old, actually, a couple of months old, and we've come back, and now we've got 4 of us. So we just try to go back every year, and it's one of my favorite places to be.
It's not Lambrini's made there.
No, I didn't know that.
That's your boy. As I cycled through, and I was in this massive vineyard, Lambrini. It might not be the nasty stuff all the kids are drinking. I don't know.
Oh man, maybe.
So, how would you describe yourself? A couple of words.
Pretty chilled.
How do you think people describe you?
Pretty chilled, I think.
Pretty chilled.
Yeah.
On the level.
Approachable, man. Approachable. I would like to think that.
And Miranda, how would she describe you?
Probably about the same. Yeah.
Too chilled.
Nowhere near a know-it-all. No.
Okay. If you have to, I know you're in the fitness industry. So, what's the naughty food choice? What's your takeaway?
Chocolate.
What's that?
Chocolate.
I'm
not fussy.
Like a meal, like Indian, Chinese, McDonald's.
Oh, something like that. Just a chippy.
Chippy.
Good old-fashioned chip shop.
I was saying that yesterday because everybody's going on about McDonald's reopening and all the rest. I'm like, I don't care about that. love the old chippy.
Yeah, the chippy. Yeah, I do.
And alcoholic drink.
Whiskey.
Which one?
Bourbon.
Any
really. I quite like to sample it, but I've just had Japanese whiskey, it blew my head off, which is really
it's an acquired taste, Japanese whiskey. I gotta admit, I'm a single malt head myself, and just as a treat, right, for doing this, we'll go to Pendown. How's that?
Yeah. Yes, I've got a bottle.
We'll go to Pendown Distillery as soon as this is done, mate. We'll set a date. We'll go around.
All right, I'm there.
You're a star. Well, thanks for giving up your time, mate.
Thanks for asking me, mate. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed it.
You're a star. Cheers, Dave.
See you, mate.
After the interview, Marc kindly offered 35% off his training courses. So if you're interested in becoming a personal trainer, just pop along to his website, select the course and use the unique code of GKA Dojo-35 at the checkout. Otherwise, just give him a bell. He's a great guy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.